I watched your presentation, which with some interest. I just quickly wanted to go to a question that was, we saw the list of countries up there, and clearly it was quite obvious that India is punching way below its weight. Um, Now, what can you give us some insight into what steps some other emerging markets? So while it's, when we compare with, say, the US, the UK, I mean, there probably will be some large gaps. But what some emerging markets have done in terms of best practices to try and accelerate their growth rates. I mean, I saw China's growth rate as significant. So if you could give us some insight into some of that.
I mean, and I think China in that respect is really is a good example of what can be done and the effects of some of the steps. And what we have seen in China is really laser focus on fighting piracy, where the government has taken determined steps to ensure that the market switch from, if you will, the piracy business model to licensed legitimate business model. Obviously, we are still, I personally believe we are way below where the industry will be in China. So we will see great growth there. But already in a very short time frame, actually, we've seen the market develop, and it's mainly because of the government's engagement and commitment to ensure that piracy is eradicated, or at least kept at sort of margins, and the licensed business model is allowed to grow and develop.
And in addition to that, did they also do something on the statutory side in terms of licensing norms or business models or structure of the industry that?
Well, yeah, I mean that's another interesting point, and I think there is definitely a lesson to be learned. Actually, they are not. In China, the DSPs and the industry negotiate, their own free, if you will, business commercial terms, and that's a very important story or point in particular here in India, considering the point that many people have raised with respect to the 31D, the threat of extending the statutory license to digital services, which in my view would be a death blow to the development of legal services in this country.
And as far as India goes, I mean, you've probably observed it at close quarters through your role. Are there any specific steps we should? I mean, we have the laws on the books, etc. Are there any specific steps you think we should be taking in terms of combating piracy further? Obviously, other than better on the ground enforcement.
Sure. And in that respect, I have to say, as Madam Joint Secretary made the point, we have seen some positive developments in India. So that's I think is good news. But there are certain very specific, for instance, legal procedures and measures that we would need. Things like blocking blatantly illegitimate pirate websites, very often based outside India, which means that right owners can't really, if you will, address the issue here in India. Is a very important point. So we need website blocking, which is scalable, quick, so that consumers don't, sometimes even unwittingly access illegal sites which are based outside the country.
Correct. Now, what new revenue sources do you see emerging that the industry can get ready for? So streaming is obviously now here, it's established. Are there any others that we see emerging on the horizon, maybe around the world that, with the development of new technologies, we talk about 5G now rolling out in some countries, which might give rise to some additional business models. What do you think we should get ready for?
Well, look, frankly, who knows?
Yeah.
But what we see, what we do definitely see is technology developing, as you said, 5G. So which means that most likely we will see even more audiovisual products, music products,
Yeah.
new services around, what you call STEMs, for instance, and virtual reality, augmented reality. Something which I think all the labels are looking very closely, and higher resolution streaming, definitely.
Okay. And do you see any structures in place around the world on some of these already being, new legislation coming in or being thought about already around these?
Yeah, and as I briefly mentioned, what we have seen is, and in that respect, Europe really has been the kind of in the vanguard in just simply clarifying the application of the liability rules with respect to online platforms. Because one of the main problems that the industry still has is the fact that there are some online platforms, depending on their business model, how they source their content, that wrongly we believe, but anyway, claim that they don't have the responsibility for the content that they distribute. So if you source your content from users, you have a user upload content platform, you claim that I am actually not responsible for
Correct.
the distribution of the music, it's the users. And we are now seeing that type of services, and YouTube obviously being the largest in the world. But let's be clear, this is not only about YouTube. It just happens to be the largest UUC platform in the world. They've become the largest, most powerful on-demand online music distributors.
Correct.
And it's blatantly clear that they are in the same business. They need to be dealt with, in line or according to the same rules that all the other music distribution services. So Deezer, Spotify, Ghana, and YouTube all need to negotiate licenses before they start.
Correct. Correct. And how would you deal with emerging services like, I mean, we've seen TikTok become hugely popular in India. Now that's again user-generated content with, music pasted on, again, by the users. Again, based in a foreign country, what kind of mechanisms could we have in place for that?
Look, I think the key here is, which has been said many times, and very elaborately in your presentation, was the key really is for the market players to be able to negotiate the commercial terms.
Yes.
Whether you want to license TikTok or not. And then if you want to, what are the terms? And then there are individual terms. Some company may say, well, I think this is great promotion. I will take that into account. Another, company might think, well, I do my own promotion. I want fair market value, full commercial value, and license on those bases. But the key is that the right owners should have the ability to negotiate the commercial terms for the use of their products.
So let market forces reign in that sense.
Exactly.
So similarly to what we discussed in what the proposition was for radio from Dr. Patnaik. Okay, good. So I just wanted to throw it open. I think we have another 3-4 minutes. If there are any questions or any points from, yes, we. Sorry.
Yeah. So do you have any comment on the notified amendment to the copyright rules in 2019? Because that is expanding licensing to internet platforms to some extent. So if you could give your comments on that.
I'm going to be very blunt here, right? No, first of all, obviously, I do appreciate that it's already a few years since I attended law school, but when I attended law school, it was very clear that you could not change the law by means of of a government regulation which is lower in the sort of legal hierarchy. So point number one, I don't think the rules could change the law, and I think the law in that respect should be very clear. The statutory license in 31D only applies to radio and TV broadcasting, and anything happening in the online environment is not radio or TV broadcasting. So on those basis, what I would say is that in respect to the rules, I think the rules should be amended so that they don't confuse people to believe, as you say, that they would extend the statutory license from the scope that it was intended when it was enacted in 2012, which was to cover purely radio and TV broadcasting.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from anybody? Okay, I guess not. I think we can give them 1 minute back. So, yeah. All right, thank you very much.